Tom 咧係Silicon Valley Technology Hub 嘅 founder 同 CEO. Okay, Tom, it's the time.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. So as you see from the slide 1 here, my name is Tom Tafolla. I have a long history of working in higher education. I started doing that in 1990, and almost continuously I worked either as an adjunct or in a full-time capacity. Also, as a little bit of introduction regarding myself, I will tell you that I basically grew up in Silicon Valley. My family largely originates from Illinois, and we moved here. I've been in Silicon Valley for more than 30 years. I began after getting my undergraduate education at Santa Clara University. I ended up getting it in psychology, but because of the impact of technology-oriented businesses, I suffered early on and had to find a way to enter Silicon Valley employment. And one good thing about that is that a lot of students, you students, in fact, I think already understand what is the primary demand, that is in technology-oriented companies. And in order to participate in that, you need a good foundation in technology. And as Elton was mentioning, one of the strongest areas and areas of highest demand is in computer science. You're fortunate in working and being exposed with William Jessup. William Jessup has a very, in my view, very outstanding reputation and excellent connections with Silicon Valley. If you don't mind, I'll point out this little story because I've worked in a number of different schools, and I saw this phenomenon of other schools from outside trying to establish a presence in Silicon Valley. And one day when I was working with the media group to explain our story, and we were a Silicon Valley school, I noticed that everyone tried to make that connection. And they were arguing, well, you should come to our university. We're headquartered in Boston, but we have this branch in Silicon Valley. And I told the media people, well, really what we should point out is that in our case, we live Silicon Valley every day. And like in my own background, as I've told you, I've grown up in Silicon Valley environment. It's almost the only thing I know in terms of employment is Silicon Valley employment. And I know because of my involvement and travels in the United States that what happens here in Silicon Valley in terms of employment in high tech is very different from other areas. So there's that. Let me continue. And I'll just sort of sample from these different slides that I'm going through. As is pointed out on the slide, I am the owner of Silicon Valley Tech Hub, which is a technical training group that I obtained a license from the state of California about, well, it was in February 2020. I'm currently about to renew my license and continue my focus on the development of training that targets professions, occupations, and skills that are in high demand. And as I go through this, I will share with you what I have found in my research and my experience here in working for Silicon Valley companies, in teaching in higher education. So as people know, Silicon Valley is known as a center of innovation. In my own travels, one of my first jobs was in Mountain View working for a computer manufacturer in 1980. So if you know a little bit about computer manufacturing, Apple Computer introduced its famous Big Mac in 1984. And what you would see if you were to study the history of Silicon Valley development, you trace a history that began to some degree with the focus on semiconductor technology such as transistors, etc. You have the founding of Intel Corporation, I believe it was in the 1950s, thereabout, that became one of these premier Silicon Valley companies, a very large employer. After semiconductors, you, roughly speaking, have an emphasis on computer manufacturing with the likes of Apple Computer and Microsoft. From there, you have a transitioning into such things as networking with Cisco Systems, which is located in San Jose. All these are local cities that have their own concentration of the classic Silicon Valley technology companies. After companies like Cisco, you have an emphasis on telecommunications, things that I would say were happening probably in the mid-1990s with the development of cell phones and our smartphones later. And I'm sharing these things with you because I've actually lived through this evolution and change in technology emphasis. And I'm going through sharing these descriptions because over time, then the focus of the technology and the job opportunities change depending on which technology is dominant. So after telecommunications, in very rough terms, we have a very heavy focus in general on software development. One of the early companies I worked for was a software developer in 2003. And the point of saying that is that I myself, although I was employed in technology-oriented companies, I saw or felt the impact of and the need to advance my training and to learn more and more about software development, so that as things turn out right now in my own professional development, I'm very much involved currently in advancing my own skills in software development. I share this with you to give you sort of a heads up and awareness that you will always, when you're working in a rapidly advancing tech environment, need to be upgrading your skills. And trying to jump faster through the development of technology because we're limited in time, it's no surprise to the majority of you that you could currently see emphases on the need to understand such things as cloud computing, blockchain, the Internet of Things, robotics, medical technology. We're just going through, hopefully we will be able to move past the impacts of the pandemic, although there'll be lingering impacts. We're gaining a slightly more freedoms with newer protections coming from medical industry. Other things that are in high emphasis right now are areas such as artificial intelligence and machine learning and augmented reality and virtual reality. So the point is that as you want to find a place of employment in these technology oriented companies, you need to get educated on these kinds of topics. The kind of schooling that you will get or would get at William Jessup University would bring you up to date and keep you in alignment with the advancement of technology. So again, I believe you are very fortunate to have been exposed to William Jessup University. So here, this is a repeat of talking about innovation. One thing that you should know about is the diversity, the cultural diversity that exists in Silicon Valley. Again, it is a very unique environment. I'm going to make a statement that may not sound too polite, but I think it says a lot. I remember some years ago where visitors from other countries who traveled to Silicon Valley, they noted the large cultural or significant cultural diversity, and a comment they had after experiencing some time here, they said, you know what? In the places that we know about, one does not feel like a foreigner in Silicon Valley, because we know that often, given human nature, there can be discrimination and prejudices against people who are not like us or who are not like the dominant culture. But in Silicon Valley, it is such a diverse community built upon the talent of the world that many people feel very comfortable working in this environment and are motivated, enthused, and energized by the good climate that they find here. Also in Silicon Valley, you find some top educational institutions. At the very highest ends, we all know about Stanford and Berkeley. From where William Jessup is located in central or in San Jose, it's probably no more than about 25 minutes away from Stanford, and at most an hour or 45 minutes away from Berkeley. So that the point being that when a person is obtaining their education in Silicon Valley, you get an opportunity to really experience some top-level educational institutions. Careers, as Elton was pointing out, he himself is a product of advancement starting at William Jessup in the computer science program, and then ultimately working into an outstanding position as a software engineer, apparently, with Facebook. There are many opportunities of this sort. There's a high concentration of literally thousands of tech companies that, again, make Silicon Valley a unique environment in terms of what you're exposed to and the multiple opportunities that exist. And again, as Elton was pointing out, most of these, they require a tech orientation and training. So if you have skills in mathematics, in engineering, in basic computer science, you're going to feel very comfortable, and you're going to find out that those skills are in demand. And even if you have a slightly different orientation, what we find, and what I have found in my experience in teaching as an MBA professor, as well as an engineering management professor, there, for those who come from a business orientation, let's take financial analysis or finance, or even accounting. I was counseling recently a young lady who happened to be Chinese, mainland Chinese, on accounting and her work in computer science. So she was getting an advanced degree in computer science, and she was wondering about the opportunities, and I was showing her, trying to educate her about the links between her training in business and transitioning into a stronger emphasis in technology. And in her case, the connection was in the field of fintech, financial technology, which I imagine many of you are, or at least some of you are familiar with. Why is Silicon Valley successful? Why is Silicon Valley such a phenomenon? Part of it is because the high level of educational attainment. This is not pointed out in a lot of other places, but probably at least 25% or more of Silicon Valley workers all have advanced education, either in business or technology. So I think that covers that. But in closing, I'm going to just identify for you some of the opportunities that currently exist where I think there's high demand. Elton pointed out software engineering. Another huge area of emphasis is in data analytics. And to work effectively in data analytics, usually you need to have fundamental training in statistics. Other non-pure technical training areas or fields in demand are in project management, business analysis for software development. The business analysts are usually part of a team that work in being sort of the translators between business clients who have a need for the development of software and software development teams. So there's a whole niche occupation of people who work as so-called business analysts. Often they're systems analysts as well, or they start sometimes as software QA people. And these are what I call entry-level opportunities. So sometimes people are worried, well, I'm not a software engineer yet, and how do I find that entry point into Silicon Valley employment? Sometimes it might be in supporting technical teams in project management or administration, but you have to have an understanding of the technology, either of the field such as Internet of Things, drone technology, etc. Another high opportunity area is in front-end web design, which is usually viewed as your web pages and so on. Knowing how to do that, that's often viewed as an entry area. Other areas include database administration and getting trained in things such as SQL. It escapes me now. I forget query language. I don't know why I forgot the term, but SQL, which is related to database queries and database administration. These are areas of high demand. So with that, I'm just giving you a taste. I thank you for your attention. We hope to be able to welcome you to Silicon Valley as future William Jessup students. And please be assured and confident that if you choose William Jessup, you've made a very excellent choice. Thank you for your attention.